are live. This is so exciting. Yay. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm going to start this off I think everyone here knows Simi from Jaswant's Kitchen, but if you don't, she's amazing. She is one of the co-founders of Jaswant's Kitchen, and Jaswant's Kitchen is, I got it, it's on a mission to make Indian cooking so easy anyone can do it.
You should work for us. Actually, you kind of do.
I got it. And I seriously, guys, like I am this may be hard to believe. I grew up on Indian food till I was 12 or 13. And after that, completely like, I only eat Indian food when I go out because it's so intimidating. And you can ask Simi in all our conference calls. I've been like, when we do this launch, we need recipes because it's so intimidating. I'm so intimidated. But anyway, so today we're going to talk about, Simi's going to talk about Jaswant's Kitchen, and we're going to get into the spices. 58% of people, Simi, wanted tips for the products, and 42% wanted meal prep ideas. So I'm like super excited. Okay, so why don't you, did I do a good intro for you, or do you want to tell me, do you want to tell everybody about, did I? Why don't you tell us a little bit about the origins of the company? Like, you know, when all the way back to when it started.
Yes. So like you said, Indian cooking can be kind of complicated. So, I mean, I grew up eating Indian food as well. You know, as some of us did, if we grew up in first generation, you know, immigrant Indian homes. And, of course I didn't love it when I was a kid, but now, you know, when I moved away, I wanted to be able to cook all of my faves. And, I got married, I started having kids, and it was really important to me to be able to start cooking some of those foods. I wanted to kind of introduce that food to my kids. And I would call my mom and I would say, how do you make this dish? And she would say, oh, just a little bit of this and a little bit of that. She had no measurements for anything because, of course, she had like 30 years of experience, and she could adjust the flavors as necessary, which is the hardest part with Indian cooking, is kind of getting the flavors just right, figuring out how many spices to use ones. So she just realized after me kind of calling her constantly and saying, can you write a recipe down, that she needed to come up with a better way for us to be able to continue to do it. And she happens to have a background in foods and nutrition. She's a nutritionist and just has a love for food. We all do in our family. So she always cooked from scratch. There was a lot of emphasis put on, you know, eating really healthy food and eating, you know, real food when we were growing up. So that was definitely instilled in us. And so she thought, let me try to come up with an easier way. So one of the ways she, I think, first tried to make some pastes and, you know, normally with Indian cooking, you have to start by frying onions and ginger and garlic and then adding all the spices. So first she tried to kind of make some of those, freeze them, and they never really turned out that great. Then she started, you know, thinking of different ways to do it. So she came up with the blends. And the nice thing about the blends is that they're dry. So there's no shelf life issues. And she just started experimenting with them, and they turned out so great that like our friends and family started using them. Her sister in England said, oh, I made this with that. And, you know, I made lentils with it. And we just started trying tons of different recipes. And that's when we, my sisters actually kind of said, you should turn this into a business. I'm sure there's so many other people out there, especially young South Asians like us, who haven't learned how to cook Indian food. There's definitely probably people out there that want to be able to do this. So they helped her kind of motivate her to get started. She said, I can't do it on my own. So they helped her kind of found the company. We started doing shows and just started experimenting to see if there was, you know, people that were interested in the product, and kind of just grew from there. So,
and here you are.
Here we are.
Okay. And TruLOCAL, I just want to tell everyone that the three of us have signed a partnership together. So you would have seen a TruLOCAL unboxing. We've got like chicken breasts, I think chicken thighs, lamb, like all of the meat today that Stella got, and you would have seen that in our story. So I'm super excited that TruLOCAL is in our live right now. I'm like just waving to TruLOCAL.
Yeah, can't wait to try my first box too, because I'm always looking for grass-fed beef, which is like the biggest, you know, it's one of the hardest things to get. So can't wait.
Okay, let's get into it. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so first, because we just launched a low carb barbecue bundle, and so we've got there are 4 things that are in it, and I'm gonna go back for anyone. I think everyone knows the Jaswant's Kitchen line, because for everyone will know we launched with the turmeric latte spice blend. It is one of our best sellers. Yay! It's amazing for like nighttime snacking, all of that. I follow the instructions on the backs. A customer just told us today that if you let the blend steep for longer, I think like 20 minutes, it's better. I don't know. They were just I don't know if you know about that, Simi, because right now you let it steep for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The longer, the better, and the stronger the flavor will get. And actually, what I've noticed is, like, you can make a big batch and throw it in a mason jar and just leave it in the fridge. And even if it's not warm,
nice.
find that it continues to kind of steep and get a little bit stronger. So, and that's a nice way to make it easier during the week. Like, if you want to really have it every night, it's kind of a pain sometimes to pull out the pot and boil it and do the whole thing. So you can always make a big batch and just keep it in the fridge. And then you can even throw it over ice or blend it into like a nice drink for the summer, because you do want to heat it once to be able to get some of the benefits out of the turmeric, because it increases the ability for your body to absorb the beneficial compounds if you add fat. You add heat and black pepper, which is already in our spice blend. So I think that's one of the ways to just make it a little bit easier, and the flavor just gets better.
Yeah, and I would say that I've had this with just water and then just a little bit of coconut oil instead of coconut cream or almond milk, and it's fantastic. Like just water and coconut oil. Oh my god.
Yeah, exactly. If you use the amount of milk, or if you just want to, just have a nice like tea almost.
Yeah, for sure. 87 cents per serving. I love to throw that out because I'm excited.
I know, it's crazy how expensive they are in coffee shops, actually.
Right?
It's really crazy. It's completely crazy.
I know.
And we're excited today you can actually find our turmeric latte blend in some coffee shops in Toronto as well. So we started selling service. Yeah.
That's amazing. I now know and have this, so I'm trying not to spend $10 on a turmeric latte. I'm trying. Can we talk a little bit about the right to salt?
Yes. Can I just say that all the SwitchGrocery customers are amazing, because you guys have come up with such interesting ways to use the right to salt. We still have to kind of more traditional recipes. We tend to put it in yogurt and put it on veggies, but you guys are putting it on everything, which I love. It's amazing. Yeah. I'm learning so much from all of you, so that's really cool. Oh,
I love it. So how do you find, like, for our customers who are kind of on a low carb diet, what's the best way to incorporate the right to salt?
Oh, I missed what you just said.
Oh, okay. No problem. I'm going to repeat my question. So for our customers that are on the low carb diet, like generally low carb, I would say lifestyle, following the lifestyle. Here are the ways that I'll tell you the ways that I've used it. I love it in sparkling water. Yes, Erica, I'll keep the replay up for 24 hours. So I put it in sparkling water. And we've seen Sarah has used it on her wings, chicken wings. I've used it on cucumber and raw veggies, and that's it so far.
Yeah, and I mean, I love it on boiled eggs specifically.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why.
Okay, boiled eggs.
Like whenever if I take a snack to work and I throw it on my boiled eggs. Definitely, like, even just in a salad, when I just need, instead of adding regular salt, I'll add that and just a little squeeze of lime or lemon with some olive oil. Somebody today made sweet potato fries, and they added a dash of the right the salt at the end, which was so cool. And so many, people are putting it on their green beans, on everything. So for people, obviously we in India, because it's so hot there,
right,
people add salt to a lot of things because they're replenishing electrolytes. So if you stop by those roadside orange juice stalls, they add it to orange juice, they add it to lemonade, they add it to everything, because they're really trying to increase their salt intake a little bit because they're sweating so much. Which is interesting, because I think on keto too, you need to kind of increase your salt intake a little bit because of all the water that you're, I guess, losing through I don't know what that process is, but you're losing water. And
no,
so,
sure.
yeah, so it's a great, like, tasty way to add. And there's an interesting Himalayan salt in there. Actually, it's called black salt, but that's what gives it that sulfur kind of smell. Got kind of a weird smell, but it tastes really good. So
good.
that's a Himalayan salt as well, which is really great. And the rest of the salt is sea salt. So, yeah,
I love it. This is one of my favorites.
It's really good on fruit. I know low carb, people aren't always using it. Aren't always eating fruit. But it's amazing on apples and bananas with a little squeeze of lemon or lime. So yeah, lots of cool and interesting. And obviously in yogurt. I don't know, if anybody's tried it, but it's really great in just plain yogurt or in sour cream if you're making like a veggie dip. So yeah.
Okay, wow. That you just blew my mind. And thank you, Andrea. I love Andrea. Andrea's adding the science. She's bringing the science tonight, and like I really appreciate that, Andrea. Andrea's crowded out, by the way. So
lowering insulin forces the kidneys to release it. Love it.
Love it. Just love it.
Biology degree. I should know that.
I knew that you had a biology.
The diuretic, the properties of keto.
Yeah, so for me, I find it really helpful. Like even now, what I do is I've taken a bunch of mint leaves and water, and then I steep it in a David's tea mug, and then I add the right to salt to it, and then I've been drinking just a cup a night, or just taking it to work with me when I have office days, which I love. So the right to salt with mint is amazing.
It's like you're making a mojito without the alcohol.
It's like I'm making a mojito without the alcohol, but who knows?
On the weekend, you could add the alcohol.
Okay,
I did have a customer that came back to me and said they bought it at the One of a Kind show, and the next day she came back and she said, I made a margarita last night and I rimmed the cocktail glass with the right to salt. She was like, it was amazing. So I think for Caesars, it would be really good for Caesars, like rimming a cocktail glass for Caesars, margaritas. Yeah.
You're like, it's crazy how you who I think would love to make me a margarita with the right to salt rim? Oscar. Because Oscar always does these like complicated rims. He was making the chicken curry today.
Oh yes, I saw that. He did an amazing post. I have to repost that.
I know, I love it. Okay, and then let's talk. So the Masala fish was the first one that we launched, and can you just explain how easy this is to use?
Do I have to? Because so many of your customers have done such a great job of posting about it.
I know, they have.
It really is so easy. And I mean, I tend to use it mainly on fish, but everybody's using it on so many different things, which again, so cool to see how everybody's changing it up, because that's what I love to see is how everybody makes it their own. We obviously have a lot of really, slightly more traditional recipes that we've kind of tried to standardize, but what we really want is for people to just get back into the kitchen and start cooking from scratch. But we know that people don't have time, right? You don't have time to spend hours in the kitchen. So not only can you do the more traditional Indian dishes, but you can just throw it on basically, it seems like any protein, and everybody's really enjoying it. I think it would be great on shrimp. It would, it's amazing on chicken. I've been doing it on chicken breast. Actually, I've been following Stella's recipe of brining the chicken breast, like the strips of chicken, and then I toss it with the masala fish spice and do it for my salads, which is amazing.
Okay.
So thanks, Stella, for that tip.
Stella's like, it's good on everything. And Brandon, her husband, loves it too, which is huge because Brandon can be picky. Okay, so let's get into the meat. I'm so excited about this. So we've got the tandoori masala. This is everything, guys, that launched on Monday. Tandoori masala. We've got the tadka masala, or I can pronounce it the tadka masala, the garam masala, and then the chai masala, which we can get to at the end for cold drinks. So I'm assuming, I'm going to tell you that I'm a first timer, no familiarity with these spices, but I find like some of our customers, they love butter chicken takeout, like Indian food takeout, like vegetable takeout, and they're always doing takeout. So maybe you can walk us through the spices and then kind of talk through like how to incorporate them.
Sure. So I'll tell you a little bit more about the tadka masala first, because the word tadka, or we would say tadka,
Right.
is actually a process. So that's that first step in Indian cooking where you fry onions, ginger, garlic, and then you add all the spices. So that's kind of like the base step that's always done for most dishes.
Okay.
And that's the part that takes usually the longest. So you're frying all that stuff. You want to make sure that it's fried well because, you know, the raw onions and garlic doesn't always taste so great. So that process can sometimes take half an hour before you even get to adding all of the other ingredients. So
Right.
that's the part that we've kind of replaced with the spice blend. So a lot of those things are in the blend. That's what makes it. It's funny. My mom originally, when she came up with the blend, called it instant magic spice, and it's so funny because I have that original jar sitting in my cupboard with the homemade label that just says instant magic spice on it, and and it's so cool because it, like for lentils or for so many things where you would have had to do all that frying, you don't need to do
Right.
that anymore. It's all in the blend, which is why our recipes are so much shorter than traditional
Right.
Indian recipes are. But because it's such a complex blend, it has about 17 different spices in it. You
Wow.
get really robust flavor, and you would likely never buy 17 different spices and add them individually. Actually, even my mom never used to when she used to cook the old way, which was she had her masala box. She
Right.
had maybe 7 spices. So she finds now since she's made the blend, she's getting much better flavor than she did the old way, which is funny because I think some people kind of look at using blends like ours, or, you know, like taking a shortcut or cheating a little bit. But I would
Mm-hmm.
say in this case, it's just something that you probably would never do. And because we're adding some spices in smaller quantities and we've adjusted it to just the right proportion, it's just giving you really balanced flavor, which is really nice. So the tadka masala is mainly for lentils, meat curries. You
Right.
can throw, you know, a lot of vegetable dishes. And I mean, you can throw it on pretty much anything, but that's traditionally what we call it our cooking spice.
Okay. Okay.
And then,
Can you cook
whereas
with
like the
just
tandoori masala is
that?
more of, yeah, you can, absolutely. A lot of our
Okay.
recipes call for you to use that to cook with, and then you would finish with our garam masala because the garam masala is a finishing spice.
Okay.
But absolutely, you can cook with just that. The garam masala is just adding another layer of flavor at the very end, kind of a fresher flavor at the end. You wouldn't cook with it. You would kind of use it once finished. So
That sounds amazing. I
yeah,
can't believe that that's a blend of so many spices.
yeah,
Okay.
it's
Sorry.
yeah, very
That's so exciting.
complex. No, that's okay.
Tandoori.
So tandoori masala. So I think a lot of people recognize tandoori masala. It's pretty
Right.
tandoori chicken. You can get in most Indian restaurants. Um, Typically, tandoori masala or tandoori chicken is red. Not
Yeah.
sure why. I think it's just one of those things that's evolved over time. So
Right.
ours is not red because we haven't added any color. A lot of those tandoori masalas or paste have color added to them.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just the color of the natural spices, which is why it's a little bit more yellow or, you know, more turmeric colored versus the really bright red. And so we called the tandoori masala our grilling spice, even though you can do other stuff with it too, but it tends to be more for marinating and doing more grilling. Um, so that's how we kind of differentiate. So the tadka masala is more of a cooking spice, tandoori is grilling spice, the garam is a finishing spice,
I'll show
and
the
then and there's different recipes for garam masalas. I know some people may have their own, either their own version that they make or they buy other blends. It really comes down to personal preference, and everybody has a slightly different recipe. Ours is very, I'm going to say, potent in the sense that we don't add a lot of fillers, and so that's why you use such a small amount. So just to give you a sense, for let's say a tablespoon of the tadka masala, you would only use like a quarter teaspoon of garam masala at the end. So
Okay.
that's why that jar is so tiny, but it goes a really long way and gives you a lot of great flavor at the very end once
Yeah.
you're finished cooking the dish.
And
Yeah.
and I totally wanted to emphasize that one of the best reasons that that Simi and I talked about launching the jars, which I don't think the jars are available everywhere, right? Simi?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Going forward, like our retail strategy is more, um, we're focusing more on the pouches just because in a
Right.
retail setting, people need to know what the recipes are. They want to have the recipe right there. They want to be able to pick up the ingredients that they need.
Right.
Whereas the jars sell on our website, we're selling it on your website. It
Totally.
gives you much more flexibility And then, of course, all of the recipes are either available through us, or I know Stella's been doing a great job of kind of modifying some of them to make them more keto, paleo friendly. And
Right.
So it's basically the same spices, just packaged differently. And the thing with the pouches is that they're just pre-portioned for that particular dish versus you having to measure it out from the jars. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have to say, I mean, guys, you didn't hear the more animated discussions. The animated discussion was, why would you not want to save your customers money? Like basically it was, and it really was. So, you know, the pouches, and I'll tell you something about, here's where I really struggled with in terms of launching the jars versus the pouches. Like we could have expanded the pouches. The jars, there's two things. One, it's what Simi said about just the cost, you know, just from a cost perspective, the jars are just so much more bang for the buck, but also just flexibility. Literally you can mix and match 3 spices, 3 spice blends, and you can make so much more, so more stuff. Stella was on the phone call when we were having that argument, but you know, and so many of our customer friends love cooking and getting in the kitchen. I'm someone, I think, that in a retail environment would go straight for the masala fish and just be like, all right, this is easy, I know what to do. But I really think that you so convinced me on the jars in terms of like, people can really experiment with these.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with the pouches too, because I think everybody can only handle, like, sometimes you need the blinders put on, right? You need to say, you're going to make chicken curry today, and that's all. You know, you don't need to think about 10 different recipes and what am I going to make and what do I need. So for some people that are maybe less familiar with cooking or aren't as comfortable in the kitchen, the pouches are a great place to start as well, because it kind of gets you comfortable and you say, oh, I can do that. That's not so bad. And then we have found that definitely some people that have bought the pouches first have then moved on to the jars. And then, of course, different, you know, sometimes people want the jars for home, but they want the pouches for the cottage, or, you know, whatever the different
that's a great idea.
Might be. Yeah. Maybe where you don't want to have as many jars sitting around because you're not going to be there as frequently, because there is the aspect of the jars, like, I mean, sorry, the pouches, that they stay fresh longer too, because it's unopened, right? So you do have the benefit as well, that with the pouches you use it and then it's done, versus worrying about, oh, I'm not going to use them frequently enough and they might become less flavorful.
For sure. Yeah. Do you want to tell us about kind of some of the easier recipes that we can make? I know that so for everyone, I mean, I hope everyone's checked it out, but we have low carb recipes that launched on our site as well. But do you want to tell us some easy recipes?
We were starting with the barbecue recipes. Definitely the fish ones. There's a really great halibut recipe that uses the tadka and the tandoori. You make like a paste with a little bit of water, smear it on the fish, similar to the masala fish, like just with salmon. What else? All those burger recipes.
Did you just see what Oscar wrote?
No.
He wrote, "That's a good idea. My ginger usually ends up in a shriveled finger."
Nice. Yeah, it totally looks gross. At the bottom of my veggie drawer or wherever it is.
Right. I just find pieces of ginger floating around, wrinkled. Yeah. But go on. Yeah. You were saying easy recipes. Yeah.
So I think, anyway, I think a lot of the recipes are pretty easy. Some of them just require a little bit of prep. What I love to do too is, if I'm spending the time to marinate some meat, I always do extra. Like when I do the chicken wings, I go to Costco and I buy a whole tray and I'll marinate the whole thing, and then I freeze it marinated. That way, when I'm either having a party or I just like quick weeknight meal, I pull it out. All I have to do is thaw it and then I can cook it. So those are just some meal prep ideas for making life easier when you're busy during the week. But I'm trying to think of what other recipes off the top of my head. I mean, they're all pretty easy.
Stella made the lamb meatballs and they're just brilliant.
And those freeze so well too. So even if you've cooked them, you can freeze them cooked as well, and then just reheat them in the toaster oven or something like that. So that's a great recipe to make for after you've had your baby, Stella, that you can pull it out and throw it, on a salad or something.
Stella, could you type out some, because I know Stella's been experimenting too, so feel free to type out some of the recipes that you're experimenting with.
Yeah, because now I'm on the spot and I can't
You're,
remember.
you're on the spot. Okay, can I ask you about butter chicken? What would you
Oh,
use
yeah.
for butter
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
chicken?
So for butter chicken, you would use the tandoori masala and the garam masala. So
Okay.
butter chicken is actually tandoori chicken that's added to a tomato sauce that has cream and butter added to it.
Yeah.
So that's all it is. So it's kind of two meals in one, which is kind of cool. That if you wanted to, you could marinate a whole tray of chicken as tandoori chicken, and you
Okay.
could have tandoori chicken one night, and then the next night you could turn it into butter chicken by just making the tomato sauce, which actually all the spices are coming from the chicken, the marinated chicken.
Right.
And the sauce is a very basic tomato sauce with cream in it and butter and a little bit of salt and pepper. You can add a green chili if you want it to be a little bit spicier. And of course, it's even like so much more delicious in the summer when the tomatoes are fresh and in season. Like it tastes completely different when it's made with in season tomatoes. It's amazing. But yeah, it's a great recipe, especially for keto, because most people are trying to reduce the amount of fat that they're eating, and so you guys are trying to
We're trying to increase it.
Yeah, yeah.
Butter chicken. So I'm gonna make the butter chicken, and then I'm gonna have it with the live wraps, which I cannot wait.
Yeah.
Oh, that's like, and I usually I used to get, I don't know, when I was in university, it was all about lean meat. So I always used to have just like chicken breasts. And then after we started we started with our TruLOCAL subscription, which was like last year, one day I ordered chicken thighs, and I'd never, there was a really long time that I never ate chicken thighs with the skin on.
Really?
And yeah. And I actually want to make butter chicken at home with the chicken thighs instead of just like boneless, the actual, instead of boneless pieces. Sarah's like, I need to come over when you do that anytime. People can be my recipe tester, butter chicken recipe tester. Yeah. Do we want to talk about our newest drink? Everybody's been like raving about this, the chai masala.
Awesome. I can't wait to hear what people think. I mean, obviously you can just make a traditional chai with it, and you can have that over ice if you want to in the summer. But what's really nice about the masala is that you can do so much more with it, because it's all the chai flavor but without the tea. So especially for people that maybe are trying to avoid having too much caffeine, you can bake with it. You can add it to your oatmeal in the morning. You can like anywhere where you would use kind of those baking spices, like, I mean, it's not very, baking spices, you can absolutely, use it in that. So
that sounds amazing. We put up an ice chai on the site along with the chicken burgers and the lamb kebabs. So it's actually in our low carb recipes. Oh,
right. I have to check that out. Yeah, I saw that. And actually it's really good just in milk or non-dairy milk, like just the spices and milk as an evening drink as well, similar to the turmeric latte. And I know, I think it was Eden that added it to the turmeric latte. She added a little bit more to add a little bit more oomph to that. So
a little
chai pudding. That's a great idea.
That just really sounds. I would like some of that right now. Chai chia pudding. I think
a really good idea.
We should just drive over to Stella's. Although this is past Stella's bedtime, because Stella's bedtime, obviously with the baby, like I think it's just like it should be 8:30.
Exhausted.
She must be exhausted. Chia chai. Okay. I'm just trying to make sure that I covered. So we got our best tips. We've got meal prep ideas. We talked about summer recipes. We've talked about our drinks and the fact that this is huge, that you can make this in advance. That's amazing. Like, I'm going to do that.
Yes. And you can make fat bombs.
And you can make fat bombs. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Which were delicious. I know. I love what our customers have been doing. It's just like, I get more ideas from them.
I know, me too. I'm like, everybody's so creative, and so like that's why, like, I'm as a group, I think all of your customers and the keto community, I think everybody's so motivated to cook and meal prep and do all that they're not afraid in the kitchen. It feels like, anyway, that compared to a lot of people, I think it's great that they're in the kitchen so much. That's what we want to inspire people to do, right? We want to inspire people to cook with real ingredients and get back in the kitchen, but we don't want it to take forever. So
Yeah. So I just want to say thank you.
no, thank you for having me and making me do an Instagram live video. I don't know why I haven't.
Yeah, guys, I basically just told Simi she had to do this. So I was like, yep, you have to do this. It's cool. And she's like, okay, I'll do it.
Yep.
No, but I just want to say thank you, because I know how hard you work. And I know, like, I'm kind of really, Jaswant's Kitchen has been a brand that I've been so proud to work with, because one, I met you very early on, but two,
Yes.
you're just like, when I see you at the One of a Kind show, like when I saw you at the One of a Kind show, and just how your customers listen to you, just how much you know about all of the products, and just like the hard work that you're doing behind the scenes, like I really appreciate it. And I know all of our customer friends like really appreciate it too.
You are too sweet. Thank you so much. That really means a lot. And I love working with you too. You know that.
Of course.
You're like my work bestie.
Did you put the kids to bed?
Oh, I did. They went to bed early today.
Did they really?
Well, they were exhausted because they went to Wonderland, so they were so tired. Oh my goodness. So
oh my God, I want to go to Wonderland and be really tired.
Instead, we just work and we're really tired.
Well, okay, guys, I want to say thank you for joining, and I will make sure to save the live, and make sure to check out the low carb recipes that are up, and then we'll just start cooking up a storm. Bye. Thank you guys so much.
Send me any questions you ever have. Thank you.